One thing we all like to do in RuneScape is AFKing. Because AFKing is just a nice thing to do, especially when you maybe have to do something on a second monitor, want to play another game, or maybe even have to work. So therefore, in this video, I will test 3 different money makers that should be more or less fully AFK and see how much money they can actually make me per hour. But just as a quick disclaimer before, we are not talking about the AFKest moneymakers that they are, because there are activities in the game like the gathering skills, woodcutting or mining, where you just press one button and then you can go away from your PC for 15 minutes and after that you just have to press again. Also thieving, for example, sometimes works like this. And the moneymakers that we are looking at today are some semi-AFK ones where you have to click here and there, but they will be more profitable than these fully AFK gathering moneymakers. And also, when you try them out, please check the GE before, because prices can vary from time to time. And also, some items have a buy limit, so therefore you can maybe produce 10,000 per hour of this item, but the materials are capped at like 1,000 every 4 hours or whatever. So therefore, check the GE price before, but I will say if this is the case in these moneymakers. So now, let's head right into it. The first moneymaker we want to take a look at is spinning Starbloom flowers into cloth. This moneymaker requires 100 in crafting, has no other requirements than this, and should profit about 11 mil per hour. So let's see if this is actually the case. To execute this moneymaker, it is actually pretty easy. All you gotta do is to buy some Starbloom flowers in the GE, or you can even farm them if you want to. And then you have to head to somewhere where there is a spinning wheel. I, for example, use the one in Fort Rs3 at my ranger's workbench, because this one is actually next to the bank. And then all you have to do is press on the spinning wheel and spin these Starbloom flowers into Starbloom thread. This is actually pretty simple, and you can see that you have to click almost every minute right here just to get some new flowers out of your bank. But it is as easy as just making a preset of your flowers, and then you just have to right click, load last preset, and you have your inventory full again, and you can spin some more. And now you basically have 2 options. You can either go to the Grand Exchange and already sell these Starbloom threads, because they are traded much higher than the Starbloom flowers. Or you can take these threads and take them to a loom, and here you can actually just press on the loom, and then you can create Starbloom cloth out of the Starbloom threads. Every 2 threads will give you 1 cloth, and therefore will even make you more money. But now let's talk numbers. Because when you are doing Starbloom cloth or Starbloom threads, you can actually profit some huge money. Simply because the prices are pretty high at the moment. So for example, in my case, I was able to sell Starbloom thread for 23,777 coins, which means there is a profit of about 6k per Starbloom thread, even 6.5k. Which means that by buying the flowers and then spinning them into threads, I was profiting about 13.8 million GP per hour, which is just an insane number. When you then go to the loom and create some cloth out of the threads, you can even earn more money, because the cloth is actually selling for about 50k at the moment. But the money per hour actually goes down a bit, because when I tried this with first making the threads and then making this into cloth, I made about 9.8 mil per hour, which is still a pretty good amount just for something so AFK. And since the buy limit of the Starbloom flowers is capped at 1,000 per every 4 hours, it can actually be worth creating the cloth, even though your profit per hour goes a bit down, because your overall profit will go up. I hope this is not too confusing, but technically you have 2 options. Either just create the threads and then sell them instantly, or spend some more money that is less efficient but net profits you even more. But nonetheless, this method was actually pretty good. It is pretty AFK, and you will earn something between 10 and 15 mil per hour, but always check the GE prices first. Okay, the second method is even simpler. All you need for this is level 73 in fletching And you have to build the ranger's workroom, which is recommended and not required. Then it is also recommended to wear the fletching cape for its perk, because this one actually has a chance to give you some extra bolts while creating the bolts. Then you go to a portable fletcher, which is easily done by just joining World 84. And a brooch of the gods is also an item that is definitely recommended, because this will even give you more bolts than you would get without it. And then all you gotta do is basically just go to Fort Farinfree. Now you hop to World 84. Look for a portable fletcher and right click it and then configure, and now you press on ammo. Now you have set the portable fletcher that always when you left click it, it will automatically use the ammo option, which means all you have to do is have your brooch on, wear your fletching cape, have your materials in your inventory, and now you just press on the fletcher, press enter, and you can go away from your keyboard for almost 2 minutes and it will create some bolts for you. And oh boy, the profit here is absolutely insane. Because I tested this method with 1000 bolts, as you can see in the background. And when I was trying this out, I made a huge profit. Because with the bolts, you actually have 2 options after you have created them. You can either sell these to the Grand Exchange, where they sell for a little bit over 6k, but you can also AFK these and AFK them for 8,179 coins. Okay, now if you have paid enough attention, you will notice that actually one Onyx bolt costs less than the Onyx bolt tips. So how can this actually be a moneymaker, and how the fuck do I tell you that this will be some sort of profit? And the answer is actually pretty simple, because it lies in our passive buffs that we got through the capes, through the brooch, and through the fletcher. This is why they are so important, because all of these things, they multiply the bolts that you got while doing bolts. So you can see it down here in the chat that every once in a while there stands something like, ooh, the brooch saves you some materials, or you got some extra or whatever, which means that when you are creating your bolts, you will actually make more than you need material. Just to see right here, I started with 20,000 Onyx bolt tips and 20,000 rune bolts. So I spent 4,150,000 bolt tips and rune bolts, which cost me about 32 million GP. But out of it, I got even more Onyx bolts, because I got over 5,000 Onyx bolts. So I almost created 1,000 extra Onyx bolts. So now if I price check these, you can see that I made more money with those, just simply because we got more out of it. And when I now AFK them, I got even more money. So in my testing with current GE prices, I made with this method about 16 million GP when I sold the Onyx bolts to the Grand Exchange. But if I would AFK them, the margin was so much higher that I would actually make about 37 mil per hour. Now, obviously, there are 2 big disclaimers with this method. First of all, you have a buy limit on Onyx bolt tips and also on the rune bolts. So I prepared a little bit to have a lot of these in my inventory right now. And when you want to AFK them, obviously the alchemizer also needs some time to AFK these. So therefore you will not have the money instantly. But yet still, the profit margin is insane. The AFK level on this one is actually more insane. So therefore this is a really cool method and will make you a lot of money at the moment. Method number 3 is also really simple. We are creating some empty divine charges. And this moneymaker is actually really hard to calculate, because it also matters how much materials you maybe have before. Because to create some divine charges, you need 20 simple parts. And with 20 simple parts, you can create 1 divine charge, which sells for about 20k at the moment. So the question is, what is the easiest way to get simple parts? There are a few things that you can do to get these. One thing, for example, is to make shop runs and buy some feathers and then disassemble them, either by disassembling them yourself or disassembling them in the disassembler machine. Also, stuff like maple logs are pretty good for simple parts, but you have to always keep in mind that when you use the machine, that obviously some of the margin will will go away because this costs energy that you have to pay in the end. But nonetheless, if you are like me, you maybe even have a lot of simple parts already on your account. For example, at the moment I have 11,000 of these just laying around because I had them from disassembling stuff all the time. And when it is so, you can just go to the manufacture option of an inventor's workbench, and then you can just create these. And it is as simple as that, and then you can wait for, yeah, over 2 minutes until you're finished. So this one is actually pretty AFK. It's maybe the most AFK of all the methods that we have right here. And as I already mentioned, they are traded at a pretty high price, and they are constantly traded at this high price because they are used to create divine charges, and divine charges are obviously used to PVM and all that stuff, so therefore are a pretty widely used item. And this is basically all there is to that method. It is pretty hard to calculate a money per hour because it is depending on how you get your materials. But I still think it is worth a mention, especially because I will bet there are a lot of accounts that run around in Gillanor that have a lot of simple parts and never even use them. So therefore this can also be a pretty good AFK method. And yeah, just like that, you can spend your AFK time really efficient and make a lot of money while you're doing it. And as always, I hope you found this video helpful in any way. If so, please don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new, leave a comment with some critics, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye!